You finally did it. You said no. You set the boundary. You spoke your truth. And then the doubt rolls in. You start thinking, was I too harsh? Maybe I overreacted. What if they're right and I'm being selfish? Did I hurt them? Maybe I should text them and apologize. Does that sound familiar? If you're someone who's been people pleasing for years, this moment, the moment after you finally stand up for yourself, can feel almost worse than never speaking up at all. Because at least when you were silent, you knew where you stood. And this feels like walking on a tightrope with no safety net. So today we're going deeper into the last episode where I talked about saying no to a narcissist. And today we're going to talk about why so many of us second guess ourselves after doing the hard thing. Why self-doubt often feels safer than self-trust. And most importantly, how to anchor into your own truth, even when those old fears keep showing up, screaming. Because learning to say no is only half the battle. Learning to stay with your no, well, that's where the real transformation happens. And good morning, my beautiful souls. I'm Priya, and welcome to my channel, Unmute with Priya, where I help women 40 plus. And if you resonate with my channel and you're male, great, welcome. To find your voice in relationships, especially after 40, because that is a time of deep transition in our lives. So let's dive in. Let's start by normalizing what happens after you set a boundary, because understanding this process is the first step to changing it. It always is. Awareness is key. Let's talk about the stories that your brain will tell you. Within minutes of setting a boundary, your brain starts generating stories. And this might sound familiar with some of you. Oh, I was too harsh. Even if you are perfectly reasonable, your brain will convince you that you were cruel or mean, especially if you have a lifetime of being silent and you've been in this constant pattern of shutting yourself down when you needed to speak up. Your brain is always going to search for what's familiar. I did this all the time. I was too harsh. I was too mean. Meanwhile, what the other person did was 100 times meaner than what I was speaking up for. The next one, I overreacted. Your brain might minimize whatever prompted the boundary. It wasn't that big of a deal. I should have just gone along with it. You start telling yourself this story. They're going to leave me. And this is a big one. Your brain is convinced that setting boundaries will result in abandonment. Now, this is across all relationships, not just intimate, friendships, um, family members. It can bring up significant issues around abandonment, especially if people have walked out of your life when you've spoken up. You start to think, okay, this is not safe for me. Saying no is not safe. The next one, I'm being selfish. You'll start thinking about all the ways you should be giving, more understanding. You start to convince yourself that, oh, I'm a taker rather than a giver. And you start to think, how else can I help this relationship? What else can I do for it? What if they're right about me? If they called you dramatic or difficult, your brain starts gathering evidence to support their narrative. And I've talked about this in other episodes where your subconscious mind is very smart. It searches for what is familiar and it listens to the stories that it's been told. So if you're thinking, well, what if they're right about me? Your mind is going to search and gather evidence to support that narrative. Let's talk about the guilt spiral. When you start speaking up, when you start finding your voice in relationships, if you're like me, you're in this guilt, shame, regret cycle over and over again. Guilt, shame, regret, guilt, shame, regret. That guilt is so heavy, it's suffocating, and it makes you want to immediately apologize and return to people pleasing. It's so hard to stomach. And as I talk about this, I could feel, just thinking about some past relationships, that guilt spiral, it just sat heavy in my chest. I had done something wrong. And that guilt isn't actually about what you did, it's about what you were taught love looks like. If you learn that love means sacrifice, that caring means putting others first, then setting a boundary feels like betraying everything you were taught about being worthy of love. And your brain creates this sense of urgency. I need to fix this right now. The discomfort becomes so intense that taking back your boundary feels like the only way to get relief. Has that ever happened to you? But here's what's really happening. Your nervous system, your brain, your whole body is trying to return to a familiar state, even if that state wasn't serving you. You're trying to get back to a place of feeling good, even if that good didn't feel great, because setting that boundary feels worse. If you've spent years prioritizing other people's comfort over your own truth, your identity has become wrapped up in being the accommodating one, the people pleaser, the nice one. When you set a boundary, you're not just changing your behavior, you're challenging your entire sense of self. And people might actually start speaking about you in a negative way. And all it takes is setting one boundary. That happened to me. I started setting boundaries, and then I heard things being said about me that, oh, she's changing. Something must have happened to her. She used to be nice. Yes, something happened to me. I woke up, and I'm so glad that I did. Here's what I want you to understand. This discomfort is not evidence that you did something wrong. It's evidence that you did something different. And if you are like me, from the time that you were a child, you've spent your entire childhood into adulthood thinking that you did something wrong. The smallest thing. Oh no, I was a bad girl. I did something wrong. But this discomfort is not that. It's evidence that you did something different. So I want us to talk about why self-doubt feels safer than self-trust. You think it's so much easier to doubt myself, to feel horrible about myself than to actually trust myself and feel confident now that I'm speaking up. This might seem counterintuitive, but your brain actually prefers self-doubt over self-trust. And understanding this is really important to changing it. So when you doubt yourself, you're telling your brain, don't worry, I'm not actually going to change. I'm still the same person who puts everyone first. I'm still the same person who doesn't speak up or immediately apologizes, second guesses what I'm thinking. Self-doubt keeps you small, predictable, and non-threatening. It maintains the status quo, and your nervous system interprets that as safe. And it's not even just the status quo within yourself. It maintains the status quo in your relationships. People get used to that. People like seeing you small and predictable and non-threatening. So it keeps the status quo across all areas. But in contrast, self-trust is expansive. It says, I might make decisions that disappoint people. I might prioritize my needs. And to that nervous system, to your body, that equates with the approval with surviving. And this feels terrifying. So think about that. That being small almost feels better than being expansive. There's a concept called familiar pain. We often choose familiar discomfort over unfamiliar relief because at least we know what to expect. Self-doubt is familiar. You've been doing it for years. Self-trust is uncharted territory, and your brain often says, hey, this is unknown, this is dangerous. And many of us have become addicted to external validation. We've outsourced our sense of worth to other people's reactions. So think about that. When we talk about outsourcing, we're sending our work away to other people to do it for us. So we've outsourced our sense of worth to other people. We've given our power away to other people and their reactions. Self-doubt feeds this addiction. Am I doing this right? Was that okay? Do you still like me? Even after I broke up or ended a relationship that was not serving me. This was years ago, where the other person was clearly being mean, passive aggressive, weeks of silence and then talking to me. Well, not weeks, days. And I said, I can't take this anymore. I remember saying to my mom, was with what I did okay? Did I do the right thing? And my mom's like, you're going to make me crazy. You've done this your whole life. You keep, stick to your guns. You made a decision, stick to it. Why are you doubting yourself? And I didn't understand that. All I knew is that it just felt so uncomfortable. Self-trust threatens the addiction. I can validate my own choices. I don't need your approval to know I made the right decision. as I was in this constant state, even my mom reiterated it to me, this constant state of, did I do the right thing? Am I okay? Are they going to be mad at me? I was in this addictive state. My thought pattern was in this addictive state. So actually trusting that I made a good decision would threaten that. Let's talk about the fear of being too much. Many women have been conditioned to believe that having strong boundaries makes them too much, difficult, unlikable. And self-doubt keeps you easy to stomach by other people. It signals to others that you won't challenge them, that you're safe, you're the yes person, they can do whatever they want. And self-trust might make you seem confident, decisive, unmovable. And somewhere along the way, many of us internalize that these qualities make us less lovable. For some of us, self-doubt isn't just a habit, it's a trauma response. If you grew up where trusting yourself led to punishment or criticism, or when you were confident, you got in trouble for it. Your system learned that self-doubt equals survival. But let's talk about another truth. You're not that child anymore. Real safety comes from trusting yourself enough to protect your own well-being, even when it's uncomfortable for others. This is the part that we all have to get comfortable with. Being comfortable with the discomfort that others may feel. What they're feeling is not our problem. And it takes practice. As I always say, it's like a muscle. And you have to keep using that muscle in order for it to grow. Let's understand what's happening in your body when you set a boundary and start spiraling, because once you understand the physiology, you can work with your nervous system instead of against it. So your system, your body essentially has a threat detection system built in. We have an inner GPS, kind of guides us along the way. We also have a threat detection system. And our nervous system, the job is to keep us alive. If you've learned that conflict equals danger, that disappointing people equals abandonment, then setting a boundary triggers your threat detection system. And you've got this part of your brain called the amygdala. Your amygdala is the thing that sounds the alarm. Stress hormones flood your system and your rational brain goes offline. Have you ever gone through something and afterwards you say, I don't know what I was thinking. It's like my brain shut off. Well, yeah, your stress system took over and your rational brain went offline. Let's talk about the anxiety guilt connection. For years, I dealt with anxiety and didn't even know I had it. It's when I started feeling good in myself that I realized, wow, that's anxiety? Anxiety is your nervous system saying, there's a threat. We need to do something. Creates urgency, and it creates this compulsive need to fix things. Guilt says, we did something wrong. We need to make amends. And it creates heaviness and the urge to apologize. And together they make staying with your boundary feel almost impossible. How do you work with your nervous system? The goal isn't to eliminate these responses. They're natural. It's natural, like I said, built-in systems. Our body's amazing that it has these built-in systems. But the goal is to move through them without abandoning your boundaries. Acknowledge the activation. My nervous system is activated. This is normal after setting a boundary. Tell yourself that. Start recognizing when you are activated. Start noticing the pattern. What happens when you speak up? Breathe intentionally. So a lot of times especially now, there's a lot of people talking about breath work. And a lot of times when people tell you to take a deep breath, that can actually send you into more of a stress response. But when you actually start to breathe intentionally, you'll notice that during these stressful times, or during these times where you feel like your brain is getting hijacked, that you're not breathing. I forget how many times I breathe in a minute. And when I'm in this stress response, I could easily go 60 seconds and maybe have taken 4 breaths. So breathe intentionally. Slow breaths signal safety to your nervous system. Do something to remind yourself. Put your hand on your heart, put your hand on your lungs to remember to breathe. Like I said, always feeling your feet on the floor and allowing your body to move. Sometimes when you're in this stress response and you don't know how to navigate through it, gentle movements can actually start to shake up some of that energy. And the last thing I want you to do is validate the fear without obeying it. Talk to the fear. I hear you're scared. I understand why, but we're safe and we're going to stay with our boundary. So let's talk about what it means to stay with your no. Staying with your no is more than not taking back your boundary. It's a complete reorientation of how you relate to discomfort and other people's reactions. There's an internal commitment involved here. Staying with your no means committing that to yourself that your boundary is non-negotiable, regardless of how others respond. It means deciding that you will not abandon yourself to make someone else comfortable. It means choosing your own integrity over temporary peace. One activity I would love for you to do here is actually think about what are your values. Integrity is a big value of mine. And just as a nonprofit has core values, they have their mission, their vision, and core values. Think about what are your core values. Think about if integrity is one of them, and choosing your own integrity over temporary peace. You're not responsible for managing other people's emotional responses to your boundaries. And I took responsibility for that for years. I looked at the faces that they made at me. I looked at their silence. I looked at the passive aggressive behavior. I would see the change in behavior from morning till afternoon and think, okay, it was because I said this thing in the morning, they changed their behavior. I took responsibility for everything, and it's exhausting. When someone gets upset about your boundary, your old programming will kick in. I caused this. I need to fix this. But staying with your no means recognizing that their response is their responsibility. It's not yours. There's one thing that you can gather from this video today is their response is their responsibility, not yours. Now, this doesn't mean that you become cold and heartless. No, you still maintain loving kindness, compassion. It means you have compassion for their disappointment without sacrificing your well-being. You don't have to fix anything here. And here's something that I wish somebody could have taught me. The discomfort is temporary. After you set that boundary, it is temporary. But the self-respect you gain is permanent. And you start to build on that. Before long, you've got this confidence that you don't even recognize because you plowed through the discomfort. The guilt will pass. The anxiety will settle. The shame will leave. You'll get out of the regret cycle. But if you abandon your boundary, you reinforce the pattern and teach your nervous system that boundaries are dangerous. In order to make a shift, in order for your subconscious mind to actually help you, you have to commit to shifting that. You have to commit to the discomfort. If you stay with your no, you teach your system that you can handle discomfort, boundaries are safe, and that your needs matter, and that your voice matters. And like I said, think of staying with your no like building a muscle. First few times, it's going to be really hard. But each time you stay with your boundary, despite discomfort, you'll build tolerance and prove that you can handle other people's reactions. Instead of seeking external confirmation, you'll learn to validate yourself and say, I trust my decision. My boundary is reasonable. Their reaction doesn't determine my boundary's validity. Let's talk about redefining success. Success is not the other person being happy about your boundary. Let's talk about what success looks like. It's honoring your needs. It's you not abandoning yourself under pressure. It's you building trust in your judgment. It's you creating space for respectful, reciprocal relationships. Staying with your no is playing the long game. It's choosing temporary discomfort over long-term resentment that just builds up over time, and ultimately you waste away. You don't have to abandon yourself anymore. And here's what I always like to reflect on. The people who truly care about you will adjust to your boundaries. They might be shaken at first, but they'll show up. They might give you excuses at first when you're setting that boundary, but they'll still come back. They might even apologize. They'll be there for you. The people who can't handle them, well, they were never really invested in you. Question, was this really ever a friendship? They walked out so quickly by you setting that boundary. Is your life better without them? So let's talk about some practical tools to rebuild your self-trust. Now let's go into some concrete practices that will help you rebuild trust in yourself. Let's call it 24-hour rule. Tool 1. When you want to immediately apologize after setting a boundary, you have to enforce a 24-hour waiting period. Tell yourself, I will not reach out for 24 hours. Most of the time, that urgent need to fix things, it actually fades within hours, and it gives your system time to settle. The second one, grounding. When anxiety and guilt show up, try the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. You can either count backwards to yourself, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or you could even make it fun for yourself. Name 5 things that you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. Make it a multisensory experience for yourself. What you're doing is redirecting that anxiety and guilt to something else. You're not ignoring it, but you're giving your body something else to do. Have you ever heard of box breathing? I love doing breath work. It really helps center me. You breathe in for 4. You hold for 4. You exhale for 4. You hold for 4. And you repeat this 10 times. So simple. And this can be done anywhere, at work, at school, at wherever you are. It can be done before bed. And often when you do this kind of breath before bed, you'll notice you settle down into your sleep better. Because shake your hands, roll your shoulders, walk. Movement helps process the activation. Always move. When you're feeling that discomfort, don't settle into your couch, turn on the Netflix, and allow yourself to ruminate in that spiral. Do something, even if it's a few minutes walking outside or just shaking your body out. The third one, before setting any boundary, get clear on which value it's protecting. It goes back to, what are your values? Think of yourself as a nonprofit. You have a mission, you have a vision in this life, and you have your own core values. So what are your core values? Is it honesty? Is it respect? Is it integrity? Is it compassion? One thing that I love to do is set a diamond pillar. So I had a teacher teach me that our bodies are the crystals. We buy these crystals, but we are the crystal. And I will draw a diamond on a piece of paper. And it has 4 points. And I set pillars for each of those. Might be self-respect. It might be love, self-love. Might be trust. Might be protection. And the cool thing about this is you can set as many as you want, but get clear on your values. And when that doubt creeps in, this is where you're going to be able to return to your values. I set this boundary because I value my emotional safety. That hasn't changed. I set this boundary because I have self-respect. And that hasn't changed. And the fourth tool, I want you to reframe the discomfort. Your old story will be, I feel so guilty. I must have been too harsh. I must have been so mean. They're not talking to me. And your new story is going to be, I feel uncomfortable because I'm breaking old patterns. And this discomfort is part of your growth. Another example of this, an old story might be, they're upset, so I should apologize. And your new story will be, their reaction is information about their expectations. It's not about my boundary. Their reaction, that's all yours. You take that. It's not about me. Tool 5, who's your emotional support system? Identify 2 to 3 people. It can even just be one person that genuinely supports your growth. And when you're struggling to stay with your no, reach out to them, not for permission, but for perspective, and so that they can be there for you to help you stay in your no with firmness. And maybe as you're setting up this new boundary system, talk to those people and let them know, hey, I'm learning how to stay with my no. I need your help with this. When I start to set boundaries in my life and I feel really uncomfortable, I might call you, help me to stay in my no. I have a couple of people in my life that they do that for me. And they don't help me ruminate. They don't help me to go into that guilt, shame, regret cycle or spiral into negative thinking. All they say is stay with your no. And that's enough to ground me back into that. Think about, what do you need to self-soothe? What do you need to help you feel grounded? Is it music? Do you like to sniff oils? If you can see my table back there, I've got a table full of oils that I go to. There's just certain oils that I'll sniff that help me come back into my body. Do you like weighted blankets? Is there a movement practice that you like? Yoga, people you can call, anything. This is yours. So it's what you can lean on when you're feeling active. So remember, rebuilding trust in yourself isn't linear. There's gonna be peaks and valleys, easy days and hard days, and both are normal. And every time you choose to stay with your no, you're even for a few minutes longer than last time, you're building that muscle. Imagine a version of yourself who doesn't second guess every boundary, who trusts her judgment more than she fears other people's opinions. That woman exists in you right now. She's the part that knew when you set your boundary that it was right before the doubt crept in. Your boundaries are not suggestions or opening positions and negotiations. You're not on the stand. You don't have to defend them. They're statements of truth about what you will and will not accept. And when you say no, when you stay with your no, you're communicating, I matter, my well-being matters, most importantly, my voice matters. I'm done staying muted. When you stop second guessing yourself, you stop attracting people who need you to be uncertain or feed off of you. It's almost like a parasite. You start attracting people who appreciate your clarity and strength. And that's what I've seen in my life in the past couple of years. The people that were feeding off of me and needed to be uncertain, needed to be small, they left my life. And all of a sudden, I started getting this new friends, people who wanted to know about me. And it was filling me up. Your relationships become more authentic. Your work becomes more fulfilling. Your family dynamics shift. Everything shifts. You become a woman who trusts herself, and that changes everything. So if this resonates, if you're ready to stop putting other people first and abandoning your self-worth, download my free guide, my free training, 4 Steps to Finding Your Voice in Relationships. You can click on the link below, www.unmutewithpriya.com. And for a limited time, I'm offering a free 20-minute coaching call. Follow the link and that will guide you through the process. There is an application involved. And if you're ready to go all in, join me at the Paradise Within retreat in Gallup, New Mexico. That's going to be September 26th through the 28th. And this is where you're going to get to reconnect with the woman who doesn't second guess herself anymore. So you didn't start setting boundaries just to abandon them when people react poorly. You didn't find your voice just to silence it when it made other people uncomfortable. The woman you're becoming, the one who trusts herself, the one who stays with her no, she's here. She's right now. And I'm looking at her. I'm reminding you that your voice matters, your boundaries matter, and that you matter. Trust her. She's been waiting for you to come home to her, and you'll know that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this channel.